Memorial Day weekend 2016. It's actually Memorial Day here at the Grove. Honor the Civil War veterans, right? Something like that. Shitload of mosquitoes. Got some supposed anti-mosquito candle going. Doesn't seem to be doing too well. Apparently the county came back in, did some more trimming. Stuff that they missed. I guess that was wet or they didn't have time to get to. A lot of cotton flying around. Just got an email asking about the websites. Where are they? Can I access the information behind the scenes? Blah, blah, blah. Nope, sorry folks. Websites are gone, deleted. They no longer exist. Not that all the information is deleted. You know, it's saved elsewhere, but nothing online. It's a pretty nice day. Nothing special going on. A little busy earlier. Of course, these mosquitoes keep... Damn. So, anyway. Hold on here. Had some people coming in. I had to reorient this candle. Maybe it's working better. Alright, so... Yeah, Memorial Day. We still have a fair number of Civil War veterans in here. Most people consider Memorial Day World War I, II kind of thing, but hey, gotta honor the internal battles of the country as well, right? Like the current ones right now. Speaking of old stuff, the house foundations back here. In the 1800s. My first introduction to it was back in maybe 96, 97-ish. So I came out here with a couple people and got to the end of the road that hits the creek by the cemetery, and just kind of standing around, and one guy's girlfriend is just staring off into wherever, across the creek west. We're on the east side of the creek. She's just staring and staring. I kind of ignored for a little while. She keeps staring. Mosquitoes are back. So anyway, she decides that she wants to go for a walk by herself. I'm like, alright. She manages the creek. Back then it was a lot more water, less rock or whatever. She makes it across, going through the weeds. Now, keep in mind there's no path like there is today. She's gone for like 10-15 minutes, whatever. She comes back. We asked what that was all about. She's like, well, I saw some guy just standing there. That's the way the story goes. Had his arm raised and he was pointing in a direction. So she followed it. Came across one of the old, foundations with the rocks and just a big hole in the ground. And that was my introduction. Years later I report on it that there's these homes back there. Got a lot of requests. How do you find them? How do you find them? You should build a map, make a map, which I eventually did. It took a lot of work. Before I did that, though, I actually put these metal plates in the tree like the Boy Scouts do. You might come across them out here with certain symbols. Just so I'd stop getting so many emails. And it was kind of cool. Eventually, there was a heavier path made. And no more emails for the most part. Of course, a jackass, what was that from the Bachelors Grove, the -Grove site. Turns out he was going around ripping them off the trees, the symbols. How dare they disturb this area, and we don't need this many people back here. Who the fuck are you, man? What a douchebag. Fucking helping people, and he's all, "Arr, this is mine," or something, you know. Whatever, dude. Go fuck yourself. On behalf of the people, go fuck yourself. Yeah, the foundations are pretty cool. We got one that has a well, one that has a cistern, and I'm sure it used to have a well. The cistern would be used to hold water from other sources. You see it as a kind of like a bricked dome thing on the inside if you ever come across it. There's another foundation with a well just as you walk past the roped off entrance coming in here. That'll be off to your left as you're coming down the path toward the cemetery. One day some guys from Indiana decided to jump down one of the wells and dig it out. So they brought all their ropes for rock climbing. We happened to show up that day and they said they were going to do it. They put up a pulley system, bucket going in and up, you know, up and down, in and out of the well, just taking stuff out. They got about a dozen feet down or so. And that was about it. They thought maybe it was hollow or something. Whatever, but it didn't seem to be. Apparently a lot of the times when the forest preserves acquired land and found homes, they'd like to fill in some of these wells. They wouldn't go all the way, so you'd still see some of it. Speaking of water, the pond is interesting. So between the west side fence of the cemetery and the creek, you'll probably come across this little concrete rectangle in the ground. A few feet away from it, underground, not far underground, half a foot, there's this pipe with a 90-degree angle sticking up in the air. In this pipe, I use the survey stick. It's a magnetic stick that you can find pipes like 8 feet under the ground and trace them and stuff. So I trace this pipe and it goes straight into the pond. So back in the day, they used to pump water out of the pond near that little concrete structure, whatever it may be. Skipping some of the detailed history though, that area of land where that concrete block is was actually sold by the Schmidt family to somebody else. And they had a fair chunk of land. They had this house that on a plat map measured 20 by 30. You can't find remains of it anymore. You can't find a foundation. Doing a metal detector sweep turns up almost nothing except for a few really, really thick chains and like farm style stuff. So nobody could know it was there, this house, right? But back in the 80s, there was a guy by the name of Ted Visnick on was it Fox TV or something? Anyway, so he's talking about his experiences here. And one of them was he was out here during the day with a group of friends and they had seen this house, a really small farm style house. And he's walking, he's pointing towards where he'd seen it. And according to the land records here, that would have been the only house in that view. I've come across a few other people who have claimed to have seen a small house in that direction. This house was long gone. It did not stand for very long either. I find it very interesting. You hear the reports of a disappearing house here in different spots of the cemetery, even in the cemetery and stuff like that. But I think that's the only one that I give a little bit of credibility to, because nobody can know it's there. And as far as the map goes, I found that map in the Cook County Forest Preserve files, doing FOIA requests and stuff. And you can do a personal inspection of these files if you want through a request like that. Anyway, so for this particular plot of land, this map wasn't even in there. But if you went one folder up, somebody had mistakenly put it in there. So even if somebody did a FOIA request back in the day, the county guys wouldn't have gone one file up. They would have just picked that one file folder. The point is that information couldn't have been leaked about the location of that house. That you'd have no idea is there, unless you would have inspected the files and looked and found how it was misplaced. And it happens a lot. I was going through some old stuff yesterday. A guy named Bill had some conversations back and forth and right up on his experiences out here as a kid. And he actually came out here during kindergarten days and beyond. And of course, the old road that's here that ends at the creek these days obviously used to be a bridge. And he remembers coming out here. They bring like a whole bunch of those kids and they'd eat their lunch, and he'd sometimes sit by the bridge, eat his lunch. He described it being very overgrown. It was just flat with dirt. So if you're curious about what the bridge may have looked like, that's pretty much it. And his story was pretty accurate though, because some of the other things he described on the original fence, the very first fence, and part of it had a wrought iron thing to it that would have been on the south and the east side. But on the north and west side, it had a chicken style fence. It had little squares, wire fence. And you can find a lot of remnants of that fence under the old, the leaves and the branches and stuff these days. When we would clean up out here, we'd come across it. Of course, some people would, toss it in a pile. It'd be thrown away, and it's kind of a shame. It'd be nice to put it somewhere, but a lot of it was pretty rusted anyway. But it'd been cool to keep a piece of it, display it somewhere. Tinley Park Historical Society could be doing stuff like that, but they have no room for much of anything. The vast majority of all Bachelors Grove material up there is just hidden away. That kind of sucks. Yeah, so the description he gave of the fence was correct. If you actually look at the plat map that was created when the new fence, the second fence, went in, around 76, they described what parts were missing in the fence, what was existing, kind of fence it was, that kind of stuff. But all there's stuff beyond the plat map that gives details of that. But yeah, Bill had it right. Definitely was not lying. Nice to know those people are still around. It's a shame not to have the websites, but can't collect the information like that anymore in that way. You could thank half of that for the douchebags out there when I pulled those sites. Shame on you. Yeah, these days it's financial. They're completely gone. Yeah, back to that block of concrete that's between the fence and the creek, and the loud planes going overhead. On my first visit here, we had found a metal plate that had the date of 1800s on it. It was part of a stove. So whatever this block was, and I found similar photos, similar features. Had something to do with washing clothes and stuff like that, but who knows what it was for sure. Having that metal plate nearby, maybe it had a lot to do with cooking too. Who knows? For a period of time, though, that section between the fence and the creek served as a kind of a parking lot. And if you look careful between the road and that area, the old road, there used to be these wooden pillars that were put in the ground to keep people from driving there, parking. Yeah, well, actually, the original entrance to this place, I probably should mention it before, is between the entrance today and the southwest corner of the cemetery, like midpoint there. So that little parking area would make a lot of sense. You park there and then you're near the entrance. Sections of the fence did disappear. Met a couple people that claimed that not only was it just completely damaged back then just for fun, but people were taking pieces of it home. So, there's that. A guy named Robert actually posted a lot of Polaroids from back in the day when he visited. And they actually pulled their car up here, and so between where the original entrance, or sorry, where the entrance is today and the east side end of the fence, all that was missing. You could see how he could have pulled up and everything. His were winter shots. It's pretty cool. Thanks, Robert. Thanks for posting those. No, thank you for the mosquitoes. Well, yeah, these mosquitoes are getting crazy, so I'll have to end this session and get back to you another day. Take care.